ugly election getting even uglier tonight with allegations of voter suppression here to discuss. Now, Simone Sanders, a former national press secretary to Bernie Sanders. Calvin Tucker, the chairman of Pennsylvania Black Republican Council. He is supporting Donald Trump. Stacy Washington, host of the radio show Stacy on the Right. And Bakari Seller, CNN political commentator and Clinton supporter. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Calvin, we just heard about the NAACP lawsuit in North Carolina alleging voter suppression. The suit alleges that African-American voters are unfairly targeted. What's your response?
Well, look, I'm appalled by voter suppression or voter fraud anywhere across this country. Anytime we have, fought through all of the wars just to get the right to vote, starting in 1870 to the 1965 Voting Rights Act, everyone certainly is entitled to cast their ballot, and we ought to come out and vote, regardless of, what legal means or not that's being bestowed against us. So again, as I stated before, I'm appalled by, the allegations of voter suppression and voter fraud.
So if Republican officials are moving early voting places farther from black people, decreasing the number of sites, canceling registrations of black voters, does that sound like rigging of the system to you? Isn't that exactly what Donald Trump has been claiming is going on?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that people must come out and vote regardless of early voting or not. I mean, some states don't have. Pennsylvania, we don't have early voting. We do have absentee ballot.
That may indeed be the case, but that wasn't my question. I said, if they're doing those things, isn't that exactly what Donald Trump claimed, the rigging of the system that's going on? That is part of the rigging
well, I mean, that's
as
probably
well.
it's part of the process, yeah. It's part of the rigging system.
Okay.
But again, we have to prove those things in court. I did hear the earlier panel, and I'm saddened by certain events that happened to the 100-year-old lady, and those things should not exist. But again, mistakes are made every day in this process.
Yeah. So you're down in the Carolinas, Bakari Seller. So talk to me about that. You're in South Carolina, but this one is in North Carolina.
Well,
but go ahead.
This isn't an allegation. This isn't some accident. This isn't some mistake in the process. The North Carolina legislature, under the leadership of Pat McCrory, who has been an awful governor, who I hope and I believe he will lose next Tuesday, I think the court said were surgical in their precision in the way that they discriminated against African Americans. I mean, they literally cut back in Guilford County, they cut back the number of early voting sites from 13, I believe, to 1. The courts have taken a stand on this and said that this was outright discrimination in 2016. I mean, look, I said it earlier and it bears repeating. I mean, in 1960, 61, 62, they had the water hoses and the dogs out, and now they just have the votes of the General Assembly and legislature. And that cannot be tolerated, and that's so unfortunate that we're having a conversation about suppression, and we have a black president in 2016.
So I'm going to give this to you as well, Stacy. If you're any sort of effort to suppress a vote, is that not indeed part of a rigged system?
I don't see a correlation between Donald Trump calling out what he sees as a rigged system and the way he was talking about it and what you're discussing. Now, the guest that you had on before, that's absolutely atrocious, and I expect to see justice served there. As far as the rest of it, if those are allegations, then we have to wait for investigations to be completed so that we know what's going on. I do not believe in suppressing votes.
They're not allegations.
Yeah.
No, the court has already ruled.
Today. Yeah, the court ruled, but go ahead.
The court already ruled on this. This is not allegations. The court said that they were surgical in their precision in the way they discriminated against African Americans. This is a Republican legislature led by a Republican governor, and if we can say the system is rigged by something false that Donald Trump says, but you can't say the system is rigged when then what are we talking about?
No, absolutely not. Sorry, Bakari. So look, that's not what I said. I'm not saying that if they've already adjudicated that there was something going on, obviously, then that's what happened. So that's what happened. In the case of what Donald Trump is talking about, there's no way you can deny the Project Veritas videos that show that
there is a way you can deny those videos.
Sure, Simone, there is a way that you can deny it.
Simone, let her finish, and I promise you'll get the next word. Go ahead.
Those videos are verified. They show officials talking about busing people all over town to vote multiple times, and that's the rigging that Donald Trump is talking about.
Simone?
So those are two different things.
Right.
If you want to refer to that as rigged, what they found and these wrong behaviors, then absolutely, if that's a characterization that you're comfortable with, fine.
Okay.
It's been investigated.
Go ahead, Simone.
Wrong has been done.
First of all, there's definitely a way to deny those Project Veritas videos. O'Keefe has been discredited time and time again. And the only rigging that is going on here is the systemic suppression of the votes of young people, of black people, of Latinos in this country, and of older folks. And we can't deny that it's Republican legislatures and Republican governors doing that work. What's going on and what's happened in not just North Carolina, but in places like Georgia, where the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under the law had to go in and fight back for to open up DMV offices. These things are targeted against black communities. So let's not pretend that this isn't happening, and let's not pretend like this isn't systemic.
Okay,
let's
everybody
not-
stand by.
Well,
'cause I
let's
gotta
not
get a break in. I
pretend
gotta
that
get a
fraud
break in.
is-
Oh, let's not
talk about
pretend
it
fraud is a thing. Let's stop.
We'll
Because
talk-
it's not.
Well, no. Look, I'm a Republican ward leader in the city of Philadelphia, and I have personally watched, fraud being committed
my
in
goodness.
precincts.
Oh my goodness.
The voter fraud is
Take us
something that
out,
has
Don,
occurred.
please. Take us out.
Listen, we do need to get a break in. So I'm going to, the president was on the Tom Joyner morning show this morning talking about voter suppression. We'll discuss that and we'll continue our conversation on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. President Barack Obama out on the campaign trail today, stumping for Hillary Clinton. Back with me now, Simone Sanders, Calvin Tucker, Stacy Washington, and Bakari. So the president was out today pleading his case with African Americans, and he was also on the Tom Joyner morning show. I want you to listen to this.
The African American vote right now is not as solid as it needs to be. And I know that there are a lot of people in barbershops and the beauty salons, in the neighborhoods who are saying to themselves, well, we love Barack, we especially love Michelle, and so, it was exciting, and now we're not excited as much. And you know what? I need everybody to understand that everything we've done is dependent on me being able to pass the baton to somebody who believes in the same things I believe in.
So what's your response to that, Stacy? Could this also be motivating for Republicans as well?
Well, I mean, I think he's making the case for blacks to turn out at something near the levels that they did for him. The issue is there was a historic nature to the election of the first black president, and that's not the same thing that's going on right now. Hillary Clinton has some issues with the black community, and so it's not a correlation. I think his words will motivate some people to turn out and vote, but I don't think it's going to bring turnout to the levels they were at in 2012.
Mm-hmm. Calvin, Secretary Clinton said this, and who is that? Is that Bakari?
I haven't said anything over here, Don. I'm not the bad child all the time.
I don't know about that. Calvin, someone wanted to say something. I just wanted, if you wanted to jump in, you can before I moved on to my next
Well,
one.
no, I wanted to say something about this legacy thing. I think the president is suggesting that Hillary Clinton is going to carry out his legacy, and I think that's very disingenuous. I mean, Hillary Clinton is going to try to create her own legacy, and I don't think he's made a significant legacy among African Americans that somebody would want to carry out anyway. So
now I will jump
I think
in.
if he's going to make, yeah, go ahead.
No, I will jump in. I mean, I think that's patently absurd. I think when you look at the 8 years that preceded Barack Obama, see what he inherited, and then you look at where we are now. I mean, when he took over office, the stock market was at 6,000. Today it's at 18,000, 19,000. You look at the way that the black income gap has grown. How the fact is that we have higher middle-age earnings than we've had in recent history. You date back to 1999. You talk about the number of African Americans that are insured. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Employment rate.
An unemployment rate for African Americans.
I work in the underserved community every day. I don't see a significant change in poverty, unemployment, opportunity, entrepreneurship.
So wait,
just have-
you're
just have
talking about the
anecdotal
1% of the African Americans that have succeeded, but you're not talking about the 99% of the African Americans that live below the poverty line, that have to make a decision every day between, food on the table.
Mr. Tucker,
or
with all due respect, can I ask you
y'all
a
have
question?
to let these Trump talking points go, okay?
Okay, hold on.
99% of black people do
No,
not
these are
live
not
below
Trump talking points.
the poverty line.
Yeah. May I ask you a question? I don't mean to be disrespectful. With all due respect,
Sure.
I would imagine we're around the same age. What are you, in your 50s or so? Yes?
60.
60s. Okay. And so you've lived a long time. Have you seen the first president I kind of
absolutely.
remember leaving office was Richard Nixon in 1972. I remember the helicopter. And so if you've had all these presidents and all these administrations before Barack Obama, and they didn't solve all of the issues in the African American community, why would you expect Barack Obama in 8 years to solve all of those issues or have some extraordinary or significant impact when there were 40 some other presidents before him who couldn't do it?
Don, you make a very legitimate point, but I go back to something that Dr. Cornel West and Tavis Smiley talked about. If you go back to maybe 3.5 to 4 years ago, when there was, the country was in economic crisis, financial crisis, and the president created these job summits around the country, and he came to Illinois, but he went to Stoke and not to Chicago. He came to Philadelphia. He came to Pennsylvania, and he went to a very rural community and didn't come to where the densely populated, underserved community is, where jobs are needed, unemployment was significantly high. So, even the Congressional Black Caucus talked about those issues, trying to resolve
what's your point
issues
there?
in the underserved
What's your
community.
point there?
Well, my point is, it was historic that we elected the first African-American president, and yet he didn't focus significantly on the African-American, the growth of the
Do you think that's a
African-American.
legitimate argument? Hold on to it. Do you think that's a legitimate argument, Calvin?
Yes, I do think it's a legitimate
So
argument.
then people are
that,
saying the same thing about Donald Trump when he gives his speech on African Americans to mostly white audiences, and he doesn't go into underserved communities to give those speeches or to talk to those people. But then you say that is not a relevant or significant argument when it comes to that?
Yes, but my point is, so on the Donald Trump, if he makes his speeches in Seattle, Washington, and Phoenix, Arizona, now he did make his economic speech in Detroit, Michigan. By my recollection, that's principally an African American.
He made it at the
inner
Detroit.
city.
It was
he
at a
came to
country-
Philadelphia.
It was a. First of all, let's just stop. That's not accurate.
Right.
When he went to Detroit, he spoke at a club and it was to all white members or very few African Americans at all. When he went to Milwaukee, he went to a suburb. But that doesn't matter. You're talking about
But he came
Obama,
to Philadelphia.
But Barack Obama has been to these places. He's talked about these issues. And to say that Barack Obama doesn't mean something to the African American community or that we haven't advanced under his leadership, you can't. All you've given us is anecdotal things that don't even bear out with the fact.
I'm not saying he
facts.
doesn't mean anything. Yes, it was a significant achievement to have an African American elected president of the United States.
But less African Americans in poverty, less African Americans are unemployed. More insured. What statistics do you have to back up that claim?
I'm in major trouble right
I
now.
also- looking at? What
the last
statistics
point I
is
just want to
Bakari
make, Don, is
looking at?
this. Is that I just don't think, I
These
think it's
things are true.
dangerous to assert that because Barack Obama was the first African-American president, he was just the president of black people and that he could only do things for black people. I
No
think
one
many
suggested
of the
that.
policies, pardon me, Stacy, I think many
Well,
of
he
the
certainly
policies that
disproved
President
that theory.
Obama has put forward and his administration has done has served all of America and has absolutely helped black people.
Yeah. I know people want to hear this
statistics
conversation,
don't
but
show
I
that.
have to deal with commercial breaks, and I'm sorry. I've got to go. I'm already a minute into the next hour of the show. Thank you, guys. I appreciate a great conversation. We'll be right back.
Thank you.